Hello, everybody, and welcome to MTG Study Hall. I am one of your hosts, Brett, and I am joined this episode by Lily and JC. We have new cards, D&D stuff, and plenty to talk about. Before that, we have some bookkeeping to take care of. First of all, if you want to show support for the show and the channel, please like, subscribe on any of the following platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Patreon, Twitch TV. It's any of those various websites /TCG University. You know how Google works. You can find us. It's not hard. We are also available on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify. 5-star ratings, shares, posts, those all help us. We do appreciate it. I know it's the bog standard podcast stuff, but it does help us get out to more people. Also, sharing with friends or family or enemies. I ain't here to tell you who. Show anyone, literally anyone, strangers on the streets. That all helps us out a ton. Also, a special thank you to our Patreon junior and higher sponsors: Addie, Andrew Dang, Anthony Albano, Bryce Rassak, Clay Cardwell, Jacob Arson Masur, Jay Rogers, Jesse Servin, Jesse Morrison, Jesse Nix, Justin Farce, Kat Maria, Kevin Broberg, Kieran Vision, Kyle K, Lucinda Letica, Orlando Valdez Santos, Paul Casagrande, Ransom MacArthur, Samantha Stevens, the baddest bitch around, Sean O'Brien, Timothy M. Freelieb, Tamers Evolutions TCG, and Tyler Zane Pease. Also, quick shout out to our sponsors: Nuclear Ink Custom Tattoo and Skate Shop, Red Riot Games Cards Custom Build, Inked Gaming, and Dex Protection. There will be more information on those various companies later in the show. Whew! I think I'm getting pretty good at that now. I only botched a few names, I think. Alrighty. This last week in Magic, Lily, what have you been doing this past 2 weeks? Past 2 weeks in Magic. What have you been up to?
Oh, gosh. I have been updating my commander decks because in-person play can be soon. And I have been playing standard ranked with Witherbloom Aristocrats.
Ooh,
I don't know if that's what the deck is called now, but it was called that a couple weeks ago when I put it together. But it's just like it's Sedgemoor Witch and Plumb the Depths, then you just value.
Just ping them down and gain life.
Yeah,
normal
so it's super
stuff.
cool. Yeah, so it's it's got the Witherbloom Apprentice, the one that the Magecraft drain one life, right? And then it's got and then the Sedgemoor Witch replace whenever you cast your copy spell, you get a pest, right? And then you have other stuff that makes pests and creatures that just stuff that just makes creatures. And then essentially if you have Sedgemoor out and you cast Plumb the Depths, you get all the creatures you sacrificed for it and then one more back. And if they're pests, you gain life to offset the damage from or maybe life loss from Plumb the Depths, and you dig into your deck. And then if you have Bastion of Remembrance out, that's 1 point life drain for each of those. If you have Witherbloom Apprentice out, that's 1 point life drain for each of those copies that it makes. And then you just draw a bunch of cards, and you basically just try to stick a witch, and then either a Witherbloom Apprentice or the Bastion, and then you just make pests and you sacrifice them.
Okay, all right. I have not, as we were about to learn, for me in my past couple weeks, I haven't been playing a ton. I have not had the opportunity. I got a PlayStation 5. Returnal's a really hard game, but I haven't been playing a ton of the new set. I need to get some deck lists from people, though, because I have a couple Brawl decks and a couple Standard decks that are sounding very appealing. What I have done is I have gotten a lot of paper cards as the opportunity to play Magic and specifically Commander in person draws nigh. I finally got that new Extus, whatever is that new Marduk's creature spell commander. I finally tracked a couple of those down in paper so I can make a commander deck, which I need to still do. But yeah, I am getting geared up for paper commander and mayhaps, hopefully soon, some paper, maybe Pioneer, if there's going to be stuff running soon, because there is a really new swaggy old bordered Fable passage they just announced today. And actually might just be not just like an F&M promo. I think it also might be just like a come buy Magic cards in paper and get a promo, which is
it was my understanding it was spending a certain amount. It was for LGSs to give out when people spend a certain number of money on. It was
$50. Cards. It wasn't like a crazy. Right. It wasn't like a crazy amount. So
right, but if a bunch of people coming in spend that's a good amount of somebody coming into your game store. It's not it's enough that people would do it, but not enough that like.
I don't think it's too big an ask.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, a couple pre-release kits, splitting a box with somebody, a commander deck, and some singles. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it seems like I'm really $50 for a special promo seems like a nice thing for Game Source. So, JC, I saved you for last. What have you been doing in Magic? And I know there was something you wanted to bring up as well.
Yeah, so what I've been doing in Magic is I am too looking forward to Pioneer. I might actually try to build the cat deck that I had built for kind of standard play into paper. I think that might be kind of fun. And other than that, just I actually really like Strixhaven. I think Learn's great. I think Magecraft is great. I'm having a lot of fun with this set. So there's that. And also, what I was going to bring up is Boom Studios picked up Magic as one of the titles they want to put out. And I just wanted to give it a pretty good shout out here on the podcast because I actually read through it. I picked it up, and I think it's actually really good as far as comics. Like, I think comics in the past have tried to pick up the Magic property. Other medium has, and it hasn't gone like the greatest or anything like that. But I just want to see if I can like show it here like a little bit. Just the art that they do of like Ravnica and stuff like that, and how they talk about the city and everything like that. They really paint a good picture of the setting. It's the story starts off with 3 of the guildmasters getting attacked. So that's really cool. Ralzeric, Vraska, and Kaya all get attacked at the same time by an unknown assailant. This takes place after War of the Spark. It sets up a good story hook, but more than that, the art is really good, and the setting and how they just like almost romanticize Ravnica is actually like really cool. So I'm really enjoying the comic, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Boom Studios. And if you have any doubts, go pick it up. It's pretty good.
And just to be clear, like, so this is a new comic that is recently coming out.
This is a new comic, yeah. The next issue 2 comes out May 12th.
Okay, because I know that there was a Chandra comic for a while, and then that, like, I know there was there's been several. That's not the first one that's been canceled. So okay, no, hopefully they can stick it. I'm also really jazzed for the Netflix show. It's like there's a lot of good story in new and old Magic. Let's just like do it. So no, I'm happy to hear that it's good. My problem is I'm not much of a like issue by issue comic collector. Like I do like comics, but normally I'll wait for a trade paperback, which is tricky when things keep getting canceled. So like if they can crank out 10 issues and have it stick and get a trade paperback, I'll absolutely check it out. But I'm not necessarily very good about like trying to stay up on an issue by issue basis. I think I managed it like on one comic ever.
If this is an additional tie for anybody in the audience, there is a moment where Vraska gets this very like bite her lip look when Jace comes in and is like, "Hello, Jace."
Good. That's I don't care about shipping generally, but Vraska Jace I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's cute. It's wholesome heterosexuality.
Jason, I don't care about Jason that much. I would like to coin that
term, wholesome heterosexuality.
You know, not the depraved kind. Like, you know how depraved the streets are.
Anyway, that's me in Magic. I'm otherwise keeping up on. Otherwise, I like Celsnia, and I like playing white cards with. I like playing Naya and stuff, and I care about white being decent. So.
I'm so sorry.
I've been engaging in some media that talks around how to address white being better and some of the things that they have put out about it. So that's been me too.
There's a mono white deck in Standard again, is my understanding.
There is.
What?
I think there's a mono white aggro deck right now.
Nice. I don't know if
it's like S tier right now, but I think it exists.
Yeah, with these 2 cards here, Leonin Light Scribe and Clever Luminancer, because they're stupid and Magecraft is good.
I did not say that they were bad. They're cool and I think they're decent.
Is Luminancer the one, or is that the one that like is just like a 1/1 for 2 that like puts a 1/1 counter on any of your creatures at the beginning of combat?
No, so it costs 1. It's a human wizard 01. human wizard, and it has Magecraft. Whenever you cast a spell or copy a spell, it gets 2/2.
Okay, I was thinking of it. I mean, the other one I mentioned is also one I saw getting some play. So hey, no, I'm happy to see it.
You're thinking Luminarch Aspirant.
Yeah.
That okay. In my defense,
and Leonin likes Scarlet. It costs 2 for a 2/2 that gives whenever you cast a spell or copy Magecraft, it get other creatures get 1/1.
Okay.
Our creatures you control, it gets 1/1 too. So, I don't know. It's a fun little aggro-y, rampy mono white deck that's out there. It's got like Defiant Strike and stuff in it, and it tries to get value out early and attack you in the aggro-y way.
No, I'm happy to hear that the white cards are seeing some play in Standard and hopefully some other formats as well. But we got new cards to talk about because it's Magic the Gathering and there's always a new card to talk about. So today, which is I believe May 6th if you're watching live, this Thursday we got some Magic announcements, and so this is going to be the Summer of Legend, and the main two things we got Modern Horizons 2 spoilers, and we got the new D&D set, which will be taking the place of the core set, which I believe it's Ventures in the Forgotten Realm, which we're going to have people incorrectly abbreviating it as D&D for the next several months, because the set code is not D&D, it is a AFR. But we got those spoilers as well. So do we want to start with Forgotten Realms or Modern Horizons 2 stuff first?
Let's start with Modern Horizons 2. How about that Fabled passage?
Yeah, I'm like way more excited about the D&D stuff, but
Okay, so I mean,
no, that's why
I want to save it for last.
Yeah, no, it works for me. So I'd say arguably the biggest news is Counterspell is coming to Modern. Finally,
it's fine.
I'm interested. Earlier today, Kat was asking me about is that going to be too much? And I haven't paid attention to Modern in literally years. I know in the past, control decks have had a hard time being a consistent share of the meta, and my understanding on that is there were so many varied, in the past at least, there were so many varied decks, and the answers weren't as powerful as, say, they would be in Legacy, so that, no, there hasn't really been able to be kind of the more traditional board wipe, and draw ghost / I counter your spell and maybe drop a late game threat sort of deck. I'm curious if Counterspell is going to enable that, or if we're just going to see better protected combo and tempo decks, but I think this has probably been due for a while, and I'm glad that we can inject it into Modern with skipping without having to necessarily have to weather that storm in Standard, because I don't know if that's going to be a fun. If Counterspell's in a Standard environment, that's got to be a pretty weird Standard environment to not be held back or held down by that, maybe?
You mean a constructed environment?
I mean Standard, specifically Standard. Because trying to put Counterspell in through Standard.
Yeah. Well, okay, so essentially, I don't really think that in most situations, with the way that games tend to play out, I don't think in most situations Mana Leak is very different from Counterspell.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I'd say in a lot of situations it isn't, but that 20% where it is, I think allows control decks to be more prevalent, because you do get to say when the game does drag out past turn 6.
Right, that's fair.
I am going to be able to do this, so... No, I mean, I'm just happy... I'm happy for everyone here. I'm happy for the Standard players who don't have to deal with Counterspell in Standard. I'm happy for the Modern players who've wanted this, who've got it there. I'm happy... That's one of those cards where it's never crazy expensive, but it can't really... It's like Lightning Bolt or Soul Ring, or it's a useful, necessary card that should get reprinted often. The new art is cool. There's going to be new specialty art on it that we got previewed today. So yeah, Counterspell, big thumbs up. The other thing we know we're getting a couple... this is going to be a more traditional set release in that we're going to have set boosters, collector's boosters, draft boosters, fat pack, or whatever, bundles, I guess is what we call them now. And there will be some frame treatments. So we're going to be getting some... I believe there's a couple of frame treatments, because we saw... Or at least the main one is... Oh, wait, there are two. Because one of them is the sketchbook frame treatment.
Which is super cool.
Which the idea is it's supposed to be kind of like a Magic card in working. In the process of being made, so it's a little loose and sketchy. And apparently, according to the article, the flavor text on some of those versions are going to be replaced with the artist the blurb that's given to the artists who draw the cards.
Oh my god, that's so cool!
Yeah, and the other thing we're getting is we're going to get more old bordered cards. So just like with Time Spiral Remastered, we're going to see some new cards in that older border. The one, is it Sanctum Prelate? The one that they showed off as the buy box promo? The one from Conspiracy with like the 3-mana 2/2 in white that you name a number and you can't cast non-creature spells. I think I'm right on that.
Yeah, you're correct.
We have an old border treatment for that, so I'm a big fan of giving an old... We're also getting an old border treatment on the fetch lands. We already knew that the 5 Zendikar fetch lands were going to be reprinted at Rare, and we are going to get those in full art, because there's going to be collector's boosters, and they also could just... the full art might be in the regular packs, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. But we're also going to get old borders on those, which makes me happy for the... Personally, like, it's a little nostalgia. I'm probably not going to, like, hunt down a ton of old bordered stuff, but I know that there's legacy players and older players who can now have all their fetch lands look the same, which I'm happy for.
And it further reinforces that idea that came up in Time Spiral, where the old border does most of the work.
Yeah.
Because, like, Arid Mesa, Marsh Flats... Those are Magic cards that they look like ones that would have been printed in maybe 7.
Absolutely. And also, and for those of you who don't like the old border frame, as Kat pointed out today, that just means the other versions will be cheaper. So there you go. Literally everybody wins here.
So are we getting full art or are we getting extended art?
We're getting extended art. If I said full art, excuse me. We're getting extended art like we've been seeing with basically all the new standard lands. So extended art, fetch lands, old border fetch lands. Did we see... I should have this pulled up. Did we see much of anything else from like straight card previews from Modern Horizons?
Oh yeah, we got the Diamond Lion.
Oh, that's right. No, we got Diamond Lion, which really... Well, I'm getting this stuff pulled up. Do you want to tell?
That's not what it's called, but yeah, it's a 2/2 for 2 colorless mana, and then it has the ability of Lion's Eye Diamond.
Yeah, I
should have called it Diamond Eye Lion, but they didn't.
It is literally Diamond Lion.
It is Diamond Lion. They should have called it something else, I agree.
They should have called it Diamond Eye Lion.
And then
instead of Lions.
We're also getting Brainstone, which is a 1-mana...
I love that card!
It's a 1-mana artifact that you can pay 2 and tap, and it's Brainstorm. Draw 3, then put 2 back at the top of your library in any order. I wonder if Brainstorm is playable when it costs 2 more, but you can do... like I'm very curious to see if this card's going to see any play.
You can bring it back with Salvaging Station.
Yeah? Nope, we got Sanctum Prelate, which I'm really glad that I got that off the top of my head. I think that's the big stuff there. So, I mean, that's the next set. That's the next cards coming out. I like Modern Horizons 1. I will acknowledge that I'm biased in that I don't really have... it's not that I don't care about... I personally don't really care much about Modern. That's not saying that I want bad things to happen to the people who like the format. The reality of it seems to be that Modern is becoming the more legacy-esque format that is more available. It's the non-rotating format that is probably going to be available regularly. I just think with card prices, Legacy is just not... I just think it's going to be harder and harder to throw tournaments where you got to have $20,000 decks to compete. So if people who liked Modern are unhappy with it, I feel for you. I feel bad that their format is kind of being shifted, but at the same time, I like that one of the premier formats, how the cards are reprintable. And I'm glad they're kind of upping the power level. Only being able to inject stuff in via standard kind of makes a weird thing. So I like shakeups to formats. So for those of you who are invested in this ruins everything, sorry. But as a Commander player, as a player who wants big tournaments available, I'm pretty excited. The first Modern Horizons was sweet. And it is print to demand. It will not be anywhere near as limited as Time Spiral Remastered, which was really, really limited. So, Modern Horizons.
Nice.
I was buying Modern Horizons box like 6 to 8 months after the set came out. So, like, it was available.
Right.
And one of my favorite cards ever, Yawgmoth, Grand Physician, was printed in that set. And this is the perfect time to bring this up. In the pre-show, or perhaps in the pre-show, Mishra came up. If we don't see a new Commander-friendly Mishra, I will be very, very surprised.
I challenge that assertion.
As a person who plays a lot of Chandelar and that involves a lot of Mishra cards, I would love to see some Mishra love in Modern Horizons too.
Well, you think there isn't going to be a new Mishra
No.
card?
No. I challenge that Mishra is not commander friendly. It's just a hoop you have to jump through.
My spouse, Ray, has the Mishra deck. You can do it, but it's dumb. Also,
it's so cool.
It's unique and interesting, but I think we deserve a Mishra that is playable regular style without having to go, well, if you have... It's not Chaos Warp. What's the stupid... Possibility Storm. Well, if you cast Possibility Storm and do this and do that, then... No, it's dumb, and I'm excited for a new Mishra. Also, I can't pronounce that really long name that's like 20-plus letters long.
Oh, yeah. That, like, answer lady who's the chef.
The rumor has it, now this is a potential spoiler leak thing, that we're going to see her in the set, and she'll only be castable via Madness, so they can fit the whole name. Now that is just a straight leak rumor, maybe made up, but I can confidently say we're going to see more old characters. I'm going to be honest, I know almost nothing about Commodore Guff, but the name is incredible, so I really hope they print Commodore Guff. I think we're drawing closer to all the 9 Titans being cards, so like that's exciting. Also, I would really like an Urza Planeswalker card. Like I'm not an Urza fanboy, but it's time, I feel like, to have a non-unset Urza Planeswalker. And like having Sarah come in as a Planeswalker was awesome. I love the introduction of Ren and 6. Let's make more old walkers. Now is the time. We don't get that many opportunities. And again, I'm not a huge old story buff. Like printing Yawgmoth when he was like hanging out with a Thran was like the beginning and end of things that I wanted. But I know there's a ton of people who will be made very happy by all of this stuff coming up. So I'm really hoping we get a lot more old characters showing up.
If I may wax poetic for a moment
Please.
On this, I think Wizards printing old borders, bringing back old characters, does a thing where, for one thing, printing variant borders is nice because it allows people to construct decks that are consistently themed. People are big on that. They like their decks to like look a certain way, and they like it to play a certain way, and I think this enables them, if they want to build like an old style frame deck, they have more to choose from. But more on the poetic side, the comic actually starts out talking about how Magic is a multiverse, and that it's a multiverse that contains a lot of infinite complexity, but also like a lot of shards of responsibility and stuff like that too. And I liked that kind of poetic feel to it, so I like that Wizards is kind of putting in real life what they put in the text, that Magic has been around for 20 years. It has a growing number of sets. It'll be around for a long time. So reprinting these kind of things kind of put into perspective that those are almost like still living shards of Magic. That kind of puts like that this is like a living game, and we can revisit those places.
Absolutely.
28 years.
Also, I realize that I often try to agree with people by beginning my sentence with no, yeah, which is weird when I stop myself and I just go, no. Yes, I agree completely. I think it's just very fun for someone who's new to like, okay, I know Jace, I know Chandra. Who is Urza? That's a fun conversation. What is Urza's? Oh, gosh, I guess Urza's Saga, the other card we saw, we were discussing in the pre-show, because it is a complicated card because it is an enchantment land saga. So Enchantment Land Urza's Saga, and me and Lily had to spend a few minutes like making sure we figured out how it worked at the beginning.
Yeah. And that only works because land is, or Urza's 'S is a land type. Thank you, Urzatron. And sagas are an enchantment type.
And so people who've been asking for enchantment lands, here you go. It exists.
It's artifact based.
It's artifact based. This is such a like callback. This is one of those like fun callbacks where you can understand the card existing. But in brief, Urza's Saga was the block. It was Urza's Saga, Urza's Legacy, and something else. Urza's?
Oh God.
Oh Lord. Okay, it was back when we did 3 set blocks, but it was Urza's Saga was a block. It was supposed to be an enchantment. At the very least, Urza's Saga was supposed to be an enchantment set, but that's where they printed a bunch of really broken artifacts. So,
all right. It was back when we did big set, little set, little set. It was Urza's block was the name of the block, right? And it was basically like a flashback because it takes place before like where the story was when it came out. But yeah, so Urza's Saga is the first one. Urza's Legacy and Urza's Destiny are the second two.
And they were the design made an enchantment set, but then it kind of morphed into an artifact set, and they printed a bunch of broken artifacts, so everyone kind of saw it as an artifact set. So they get the fun of saying Enchantment Land. Urza's Saga saying it was supposed to be about enchantments, an enchantment world, but it's an enchantment that cares about artifacts. You can pay 2 and tap it on the second round to create one of those constructs that's a 0/0 that gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. And then you sacrifice it and tutor out an artifact with mana cost 0 or 1. So it's adorable. It's complicated. It looks like it's like a custom card, which that is my desire for these sets. This is supposed to be crazy. This is supposed to be like Time Spiral block. We're supposed to get complicated, weird, intricate designs. This is what I want. This is what I want. All right, we have okay. So we need to move on. We need to keep rolling. So we are getting some previews from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms.
I am so fucking excited. So
we got Tiamat, which is just straight Tiamat. No Tiamat, comma.
She don't need any.
No, I completely agree. I think it's fine. And Tiamat is a dragon god. It was a 7/7 for Wooburg 2, so 7/7 for 7 with flying. When she ETBs. If you cast it specifically, which thank goodness, search your library for up to 5 dragon cards not named Tiamat that each have different names, reveal them, and put them all into your hand. So that my roommate who really likes 5-color dragon stuff just kind of made a choking noise. So yeah, this card's pretty nuts.
But it's not as bad. It is closer to Cody than it is the Niv-Mizzet Guild Pact.
Yeah, no, I this doesn't bother. I mean, having it be it gets them straight to your hand, but they're dragons, and also it's not in standard.
Yeah. Well, more. Yeah, but you get more big dumb creatures. You already have a big dumb creature on the board. You're not getting like a bunch of spells to support your big dumb creature.
Yeah, and it's also like, again, this is not the main concern, but man, I really hate too good of 5-color good stuff brawl commanders, and this does not seem like a too good brawl commander. So
and you're probably going to get a lot of dragons in the set.
Yeah, no, which is good. People like dragons. My personal favorite here, I'm going to throw out. We got the Vorpal Sword.
Yes.
Which is a artifact equipment for 1 black, and then it equips for 2 black. And equipped creature gets +2/+0, so it has Death Touch, which that's really nice. That's just strong in and of itself. That's really, for limited, being able to just keep giving your creatures Death Touch, badass. Then you pay 8, 5 and 3 black. Until end of turn, Vorpal Sword gains. When equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. That's nuts. That's crazy. Someone pointed out an interesting thing. There has been some predictions that this set might utilize die rolling to kind of get that D&D feel. If the Vorpal Sword does not involve die rolling, it's probably not in the set. So we can probably count that out, which that's fine. I think I like unsets. I like that die rolling is kind of in that world. If they brought using die into Black Border, I wouldn't be like mad, but if we don't have to or they don't feel it necessary, that's fine. This card's badass. I feel like it is a great example of this is an incredible example of what they can do here with let's take the concept, what's the Vorpal Sword, this is how we do it. If this is how they're handling all of the references, I'm going to be pretty happy. We also have Portable Hole, which is and they're really leaning into colored artifacts here. So this is an artifact for 1 white. When it ETBs, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls with mana value 2 or less until Portable Hole leaves the battlefield. That's solid. It's a good card. It's flavorful. Yeah, I'm a big fan. We got, and I know this is not a core set specifically, but seeing it's kind of serving that role, these are cool and interesting designs, but they aren't Modern Horizons 2 kind of complicated. This seems to be pretty, my guess is they're really trying to get D&D players into Magic, so I'm assuming we're going to be on the lower end of complexity and lean on the references a bit more, which, hey, that's fine.
It's top down. I mean,
it seems like I think it's almost the opposite. I think they want to get Magic players into D&D.
Oh, I mean, yes, certainly. Everybody, it's more money. You want everybody buying all the stuff. We have...
Well, it's important to bring up here, though. Like, D&D is experiencing, at least prior to the pandemic, was experiencing kind of a renaissance.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and Magic keeps doing well. I mean, so both are doing well, so why not tie everything together? I'm pretty thrilled about this. We have Power Word Kill. Is an instant for 1 black and 1. Destroy target non-angel, non-demon, non-devil, non-dragon creature. And the art looks straight out of a PHB. It's got like a big lich face and then like kind of superimposed on the back and then an adventurer dying. And the flavor tech we'll just... I was just going to say what it was referencing, but... what is that? Arnali issued a long heroic challenge, then the lich felled him with a single word, so...
Oh, yeah. And anyone who's played Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder or anything like that, I agree with you, especially on this card. If this is a perfect chance for a die roll, you could put a save in there of some sort. But like save or die spells, man, it feels so bad when you die from a single spell. Power
Word Kill's a real, that's like a 9th level. This card seems really pushed, too, by the way. Like, I know we had that 1 black and 1, like, the black one in Ixalan that, like, hit non-merfolk and a few other things. Like, and I realize angels, demons, devils aren't that big a deal generally. I'm assuming we'll see some more. But angels, demons, dragons are kind of the go-to badass finishers. But I'm curious how many of those are seeing modern play, because this is 1 black and 1 for a kill spell. This is a pretty lax restriction on a Doomblade.
Right.
Effect.
Well, we're also getting... we had Human Frailty, not Human Frailty. The one from Innistrad that was black that was destroy target, non-werewolf, non-vampire, non-zombie, non-spirit creature.
Yeah. So we've certainly had this kind of stuff, but this one isn't double black. It's black and 1, and
right.
That's it's 4 creature types, 3 of which are kind of powerful creatures, but that's a really solid removal spell. That is premium removal. And we get the advantage of Standard is probably going to have a lot of... Standard's going to have a lot of good angels, demons, dragons, and devils for a bit, I would guess. But Modern, Pioneer, this is a nice gift to other formats where there's a lot of creature types running around. On the creature type subject... I'm just trying to run through. There's not that ton, so we can actually talk about all of them.
I'm so mad.
Why are you mad?
A halfling?
No, well, that's what I'm going to try. Okay, do you have that card pulled up? Because I'm trying to find it on Reddit.
I'm not grabbing it.
I do. I thought I did. Hold on. Yes, I do. Prosperous Innkeeper is a 1/1 for 1 green and 1. It is a halfling citizen. Halfling is not an existing creature type. When it enters the battlefield, you create a treasure token, which I really dig that's just evergreen.
Same.
I like treasure token. But whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So it's like a soul
warden. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Soul warden, spirit warden. That kind of card.
I'm pro halfling. I know we have Kithkin, but I feel like if a D&D player is joining in who loves halflings and wants a halfling deck or have some halfling cards, what's a Kithkin? Well, that's what we call... No, make it what it is in D&D. I know there's some overlap.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm pro Kithkin, or I'm pro halfling if they do to Kithkin what they did Hound to Dog.
So you're saying you want to turn you don't want to have halflings and Kithkins. You'd rather they just take...
Well, that's what it was. Okay. So there's some history behind this, right? And it's all kind of related. So
go for it.
Old school D&D, and it was under TSR. They called them halflings because they didn't want to enrage the Tolkien estate by calling them hobbits, because it was their thing, right? The Tolkien estate is like notorious with copyright shit.
And you could say that hobbits weren't a thing before at all. So if you're using hobbits, you're clearly ripping us off. Where halfling is clearly more vague.
Right. even though, as Bray pointed out in a conversation earlier today that we had about it, like they are also called halflings in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But so TSR, when they were doing like D&D, right, when they were like publishing the like first edition Dungeons and Dragons, they were like, all right, well, they're going to be halflings. Okay, all right, whatever, cool. So then we fast forward to there were a couple in Magic prior to that, prior to Lorwyn. But Lorwyn is when they really then we got Kithkin, which was Wizards of the Coast saying, you know, we have this thing, this creature type that wasn't really defined as a specific thing, but it kind of like Emerald Kithkin looks like a hobbit.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, well, Kithkin are gonna just be there are hobbits, there are halflings, because we don't want to cross the streams with D&D. And that's the reason they use Kithkin and not halfling.
Yeah.
So if they're gonna do halfling, just errata it back.
Yeah, then somebody pointed out we have Azra functioning as our tieflings, and we're probably going to see some tieflings in this set. So it's a weird world where we have Azras and tieflings and halflings and Kithkin. I'm curious what they do. I don't have a strong opinion on it personally, but it is kind of, one of those interesting scenarios. There was one other thing I wanted to make sure we talked about. The basic lands, for the first time, have flavor text.
I know, it's so good. They're adventure hooks.
Yeah, so here, let me blow this up so I can read it and still have my mouth pointing towards the mic. So, like, here's the island. So here's one of the plains. So, like, venturing beneath the desert sands, you've discovered an alien power pulsing with inconceivable energy. So that's the flavor text. So, yeah, it's an adventure hook. It's cute. It's fun. This is a nice thing to do. I also like making kind of the pack standard basic lands appealing. Beyond having, like, this is a nice thing where it's not full art, it's not some crazy effect, it's just, hey, let's put flavor text on there. So yeah, that's really cool. I think we've literally covered everything we've seen of the Forgotten Realms, but no, this is exciting stuff. I'm really very excited.
We haven't. So we didn't get an actual card preview, but the alternate frames are a classic rule book, which is like in the style of like I think like first in, I don't know if second edition was that in that style, but where it's like drawn on like this like parchment paper and it's like
the
ink.
vellum.
Oh yeah, it's like ink on vellum. It's so good, and we don't have the text for it, but it's a beholder.
So yeah, we're gonna have.
It's obviously a beholder.
They gave it the name in the article too. It's something beholder.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
Is it going to be a creature type I though?
I'm excited to see. So that's kind of everything. Any final thoughts before we head into our commercial break and move on from Forgotten Realms and Modern Horizons 2?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out with the Kithkin halfling thing too. Like, yeah, I really think they can just like errata that so that they're the same creature.
Right. Everybody knows they're halflings. The goblins on Lorwyn are called boggarts.
I mean, and then if we're on Lorwyn again, just call them Kithkin. Use Kithkin in the card name. I think it doesn't hurt anything, and like, just make as for tieflings. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, just good.
When people come into your game, they recognize the thing. You own both. There's no copyright issues. I mean, if you, I didn't feel strongly. I don't feel wildly strongly even now. But you two have. Yeah, I think I'm with you too. I think it's easy enough. So okay, we are going to put a pin in new cards there. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the best way to teach people how to play Magic. We'll be right back.
Hi, and welcome to the ads. This week we are brought to you by Cards Custom Builds. Are you into cosplay? Are you looking to get into cosplay? In the future, do you want to show up at your favorite event dressed up as your favorite character? Well, then Card Custom Builds is here to help. Cards Custom Builds creates everything from props and trinkets and weaponries all the way up to full costumes. I've seen some of the costumes that they made. They are all fantastic. They're really good stuff. If you would like to get some awesome things for your cosplay or just cool stuff to have around, if you want to throw a Halloween party at the end of the year and be like the talk of your Halloween party, please go check out Cards Custom Builds over at Facebook and tell them about TCG University. Say that we sent you and you'll get 5% off your entire order. Please do this. They do a bunch of things over there. Clay is making a lot of really cool stuff. He makes coasters too. If you want to go get coasters, I think he's selling them on Etsy and on Facebook. So please, if you want to get some cool stuff for your cosplay or for anything, go check out Cards Custom Builds and tell them that we sent you. This week, we are also brought to you by Dex Protections. Dex Protections is in a never-ending pursuit to create the highest quality storage and protection accessories. Their designs and innovation come from die-hard gamers and collectors just like you, so you know that what they make is stuff that you will want to buy, because they are also making stuff that they would want to buy. They are on a never-ending pursuit to create the best product, and that is why they are the leader in the industry in creating accessories for your deck products. Please, if you would like to go get some new stuff for when we're finally able to go out into public and go to tournaments and stuff, go to Deck Protections, and there'll be a link down in the description down below for that. Please go check them out. We're also brought to you this week by Red Riot Games. They are a Canada-based online seller of things like Universes, MTG, and Pokemon. They're friends of the show. We like them a whole lot. Please, 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 please go to redriotgames.ca and check out all their singles there. And when you check out, use creator code TCGU to help support the show and help support them. It would be greatly appreciated. We like them a whole lot, and we would love it if you would use them to buy some singles for any upcoming tournaments that you might have towards the end of the year. Lastly, we are brought to you by Nuclear Ink Custom Tattoo and Skate Shop. At Nuclear Ink, you will find a very inclusive environment with artists that share interest in nerd culture and fandoms alike. Nuclear Ink prides themselves on Omaha's premier all-custom tattoo shop. If you are in the area and looking to get a custom tattoo, please check out Nuclear Ink here in Omaha. Link in the description down below. They're cool guys. We like them a whole lot. Yeah, they're really awesome. Please, if you're in the Omaha area and you want to get a tattoo, please go check them out. Thank you. And we'll get back to the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. So, to round the show out, we are going to talk about teaching people to play Magic. We got this new set where we potentially have a lot of new players coming into the game. We have these new crossover sets with 40K and Lord of the Rings and whatever else is going to come. So, I just wanted to take some time to talk about some strategies and tips and just ideas about how to teach people how to play the game. This specifically came up because I had the opportunity to go hang out with some fully vaccinated friends, and I was invited to a board game day, and one of the board games there were the 5 of the Magic Planeswalker decks, and so 2 of the other players I was playing with had varying amounts of past experience. They'd played several years ago, and then I had one of my co-players hadn't played at all. So it was a interesting experience. It's been a while since I've taught anyone Magic or worked on that. So we did a 4-player free-for-all with the last core sets Planeswalker decks. I think maybe the last chunk of Planeswalker decks. I think after that they started the new Commander deck.
Eldraine were the last ones.
Oh no, I think the core set were the M21 was more recent, because after that it was Zendikar. This is the one that had
right.
Because these ones had the specialty bordered lands. This was the set where we had blue Teferi in the core set. So
you're right. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yep.
So it was generally pretty good. I mean, anytime you're playing 4-player with those starter decks, it gets a little clogged up. But generally, I think it was a good experience. We all seemed to have fun. I certainly had a good time. But no, it's interesting because for the longest time I have been very anti teaching people to play via Commander. I've always been like, oh, Commander's a great format, but we shouldn't teach people to play with it. But playing with these Planeswalker decks really kind of changed my mind on the tune, because now we've got they've been releasing multiples of the cheaper intro Commander decks, where there's still a Soul Ring and an Arcane Signet, but there aren't as many new legendaries, and there's certainly more tuned down power level wise. And the reason I say that is the Planeswalker decks are very built around your Planeswalker. Obviously, there's only one Planeswalker in each of the decks, but there's a couple. I think there's at least 2 to 3 other cards that will tutor out your Planeswalker or get it back from your graveyard. And it's really exciting, and particularly the less experience of the new players. And I think most of my players hadn't played with Planeswalkers, so it was kind of, we had to explain how those work, and it was a very like, oh man, they've got their Planeswalker out. And it made me realize that I think you want to probably start Commander as soon as possible. Now, I think maybe more tuned down power level and complexity-wise, but I think that desire to play your favorite card repeatedly is very much there. And so having that command zone introduced right away, maybe it's a good idea. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity to maybe teach some new players with Commander, which up until now I have been fairly against. What do y'all think about that, and just general feelings on the best way to teach?
You were playing those like Commander decks?
We weren't playing them like Commander decks. They have a little bit in common with them in Jet. They try to get that Planeswalker back, but it made playing with that and the restriction of not playing in Commander, I found myself regularly saying, like, oh, and we have to play Commander next time because it's such a cool format, and like, oh, I've got these precons that I still have in the boxes, so next time I'll bring those. And I realized, man, I really wish I was playing Commander, because particularly those decks that just have standard cards, it's like, there aren't board wipes in here. There aren't a lot of things that are going to... They weren't really probably designed for 4-player multiplayer in the way that Commander is. And even those pre-con Commander decks have more gas because they aren't limited by standard legality. So this has kind of turned me around on it. Now, I haven't done it, so maybe it's not a great idea, but I'm kind of on team maybe Commander's a good way to teach people in the right environment. So I was curious if y'all had thoughts, or if you feel otherwise.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts. So, I don't, like, I'm still not sold on Commander as an entry level. Like, I think that was what Brawl was, one of the things it was intended to be. But I think if you're careful about what your play group is playing, Commander could be an entry level product. Could be an entry level format, excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah. So this I learned to play Magic through Portal. And the thing and it makes me also think about like how when you play an arena, it brings you through kind of a curated deck list in the intro, and it makes you play through each color and realize each color's kind of strengths and differences and things like that, and introduces more cards to you over time. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Portal was the first playthrough. Didn't the cards come in a certain order that they suggested that you play through at first, or was it just a specific deck list?
The 7th edition starter definitely did. I can't speak to any of the Portals though.
The 8th edition one also did, which was my first intro kit thing.
So it very well may have. At least in the past, Wizards has done that, where, hey, the decks are stacked, follow this for the first half of the game, then we're going to cut you loose.
Right.
Yeah, so I think in that regard, if you're pretty careful about like what decks you're introducing and stuff like that, and the complexity over time and things like that, I think it's a good way to introduce new players to it. Magic is a complicated game with a huge rule set and like a lot of corner cases. So I'm kind of a fan of the notion of limiting the complexity at first and then introducing more complexity as you go. I think it's interesting that of the three of us, I think we're all old enough that we learned to play Magic in paper, and I imagine that some people may be in the situation now where they're learning to play Magic through Arena.
No, absolutely. And like I think the 7th edition starter did come with a disc, and I played there was only there weren't a lot of options, but I played the computer version a ton because I didn't really have anyone to play with in paper right at the very, very beginning, with that starter kit. But no, and actually that's a fair point. If someone came to me and said, "Hey, I want to learn Magic," my first thought would be make an Arena account and go through the tutorial, because because Sparky pauses it and goes, "Hey, I'm going to teach you how to blow them out with this instant. Hey, we're going to have you get messed up by this instant. Hey, this is why you might want to differently sequence your cards," and all of that. But even with that, still, for a long time, I've been like, Commander should come after a while. Now, and I'm not saying sit down with your power level 8 out of 10 or more decks and just crush somebody, but we have so many precons now, and we particularly have specifically made Commander precons that are $20. So you can go into the store, spend $20, get 100 cards, several of which will be, at least a few are stapley. We've got Soul Rings. We've got some of those cheaper dual lands. We've got
yeah.
I'm totally blanking on the 2-mana fixing that I said earlier. Signet, Arcane Signet.
Yeah. Excuse me, Armin has an opinion.
He has thoughts he wants to share.
But no, you're absolutely. So I don't think it's just power level though, and I'm like, I don't think it would like. I think complexity. Like, there's a certain amount of complexity that you can build for in Commander that a lot of people tend to build for in Commander that is not appropriate for someone who's been playing the game for a few weeks.
Yeah, no, certainly. I mean, that's the thing. It's like Wrath of God compared to a 5 or 6 mana Wrath. That isn't a concern, but those precons have the advantage of we aren't going to have a situation where I had to literally call you on the phone because I had Starfield of Nyx, and then we had that thing that turns everything into Archons, and then we had to figure, is this a layering or a timestamp issue? And even with those precon decks, there was a moment where we had to kind of rewind it because it's like, okay, hold up, we have this. So like, okay, if a Planeswalker come down, okay, you want to shock that Planeswalker. Well, they get a chance to activate their ability, and then you get to do this, and then this is going to come in, and then this is going to trigger. So like, no matter what, and particularly when you get 4 players in there, we're going to have some times where I'm going to have to, okay, we're going to have to pause, we're going to have to rewind. Right. This is what's happening. That's just the reality.
So here's something I never thought I would say. It doesn't matter if new players are playing Magic correctly.
Yeah, no, I'm generally in agreement with that. The closer you can be to the basics being accurate, the easier it's going to be. Right. But moving.
Oh, and I'm sorry to clarify. When I say correctly, I don't mean like making optimal plays. I mean like
tapping land or else
playing
a forest out of your deck.
Yeah, like if someone gets into the game because they're like, oh, that's cool, and then later they find out, it's like, whatever. Don't lie to people, but like also, if a bunch of newbies are playing Commander and they don't.
If something doesn't get resolved perfectly, exactly right, it's probably not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to say.
Well, no, and that's the thing. Like, a while back, I had a friend, and I asked friends, like, hey, do you mind if I do an experiment? I'm going to show you Magic, but I'm going to try to give you...
Oh, I remember that.
...all the details I can. And she was like, yeah, no, that's fine. Let's try the experiment. And even just doing it through with one game, it's like, no, this is not the way... I mean, that's the thing. It's not shocking that was an interesting hypothesis to test, but when you're like, okay, I'm going to explain the stack, I'm going to explain this ability going on the stack, I'm going to explain the priority path. No.
Yeah, that like by default, every single turn has at least like 9 priority passes.
Yeah, that you don't need to know that. You really do not need. Most Magic players probably never need to know that.
Right.
Honestly, like, it's not bad if you want to. It's never bad to try to understand the game more, and like, particularly if you want to really push out there and get into a competitive place. Yeah, you should understand how the mechanics work, but most people who play this game play at a kitchen table. So no, when we got to Instance, I didn't say. I didn't explain it. I said, oh, this is an instant. You can play this most of the time. You can play, generally speaking, you can get in there and have a chance to play this instant. That's as explaining as I got. There was a point where I had to go, okay, no, the Planeswalker thing's going to happen. Then you can shoot the Planeswalker. And it was that Chandra's like Firebrand thing that when you deal damage to a player, you get to do that to a creature or Planeswalker. So one of my players was like, hey, they're going to bounce, they're going to tuck my Chandra's thing with their Teferi. Can I get it so I can shock their face and shoot the Teferi? And it's like, yes, you can. You can do that. I'm going to show you how you would do that. So they're going to activate the Teferi ability, and then I use the grenade metaphor. Now that's on the stack. You're going to shoot them. So we were able to get through it without me having to like break out the comprehensive rules. But it was one of those, yeah, you can do that. I'm going to walk you through how we're going to do that quick. And then I explained to the Teferi player, it's like, yes, and if you had anything in this instance that could return the Teferi to your hand or that could counter a spell, you could interact with this. I don't think your deck has any of this, so you can't really stop this from happening. This is how it's going to play out. So that was much better. There was probably a time in my life where I would have tried to explain the nitty-gritty, and it's like, it was helpful that this wasn't also a, let's learn to play Magic. It was, hey, let's play some board games. So it's like, okay, we're going to play a game of Magic. I'm going to try to take this like a board game. You don't need to know 28 years of history and rule changes and full priority passes. We're going to try to have this as light and fun and fast paced as we can get it while we're sitting here and joking and having a good time and eating and drinking. So I mean, it still took like 2 hours, but it was a good experience, and it was a good opportunity for me to kind of reframe teaching Magic, because normally when I teach Magic, I'll dig up some starter decks, I'll sit down, and we'll play some one-on-one Magic. And so it's like, okay, I have people who used to be good, used to be a regular player who had a good understanding of the game 2 rule changes ago. That's a different experience. And I also have someone who's brand spanking new, and I have me who does a bi-weekly Magic the Gathering podcast, and we all still had fun and played Magic. So it was a good experience, but it really kind of helped me reframe some things. I've been talking a ton. What are y'all preferred thoughts or experiences for teaching people Magic? What are some other just tips and tricks? If a viewer wants to help get a loved one into Magic, what are some things we could tell them?
So, like, game stores are gonna be a thing again soon, right? If people, it's not like a tournament or something, right? And people are playing Magic in a game store and they're doing something wrong. As someone historically who has gotten into fights by butting in where it wasn't needed, don't. Just let them play.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's probably good advice. And that's the thing. If ideally in a game store environment, there should be. I think it's good to encourage people to ask questions and to double check. And so if someone comes to you or throws it out there, hey, how does this work? That's a good opportunity. But new players having fun is the most important thing, because if we want people playing our game, it needs to be fun. So we need to try to distill the funness of Magic as quickly as possible. And that's one of the reasons that I'm really pushing Commander, because I think one of the things that has made Commander so lasting is it's easy to go like, oh, there's so many players, like a lot, like, oh, I'll talk to players and they'll say, oh, I had this old green and blue deck that I loved. Oh, I had this, or oh, I had this card that I really loved. So being able to transfer that and say like, oh, you liked green, well, here's a green deck. And here's Garruk, he's a planeswalker, you might draw him, saying, look at this green and blue sea serpent that's in charge of this commander deck. Look how crazy this card is. And you get to guaranteedly have access to this card. I think you can tap into those good feelings a lot easier than trying to be like, well, here's Garruk, there's one in your deck, and you might go get it, and then when you do, I'll have to explain what planeswalkers do.
Yeah, I think a nice opportunity that Commander can give is you can go to a person and be like, hey, so if you had to have somebody who was in charge of your deck, like the main character of your deck, who would it be? And with how much history Magic has, like they could say, like, I want a ninja rat, or I want the bestest dog, or I want a purtiful angel, or I want a cool dragon, and we can facilitate all of those things.
Or you can set, like, you brand new people, they don't know what to expect. You can set down 4 of those precons and say, point at the one that looks coolest to you.
Yeah.
You into big snakes? Cool. You into a knight? Bam, there's a knight. You like vampires? Boom. Like, I don't know right off the top of my head what the precons are, but, like, most games start with pick a character portrait, pick a class you're familiar with. So if you can say, point at one of these cards, and I don't have to get in, I mean, don't get me wrong, color theory is a blast, and it's really, it's important, I think, a fun thing to be like, this is what these colors kind of represent, but in a brand new board game, I want someone into this game. The Planeswalker decks are good, and like, look at these cool Planeswalkers. Liliana looks intense and scary, and she's good looking, and she's got that whole, like, I'm the sexy temptress spellcaster, but we also have Chandra on fire, and we've got Big Burly Dude, and we got Teferi with wavy blue stuff, and that, I think that was Boss Riquette in that, so like, and then we've got a guy in armor with a big spear, like, that's appealing, and if we can say, hey, look at these archetypes, or look at these cards, or read this one card, does that seem cool? The deck's going to help you facilitate that.
Right.
It's going to be
like,
easier.
I'm thinking back to like my first couple decks that I like fell in love with, and pretty much like one of them explicitly like revolved around a legendary creature that I loved.
And like, yeah, for me it was that 7th edition Thorn Elemental. Yeah, it's a 7/7, and it doesn't matter if they block it; it's still going to hit them. Now, Thorn Elemental is not your commander, but you can take that. Here's a big creature that's going to do a crazy thing in green. Look at these options. Boom! Isn't that cool? No, like, I am envious of new players getting the opportunity to learn Magic now.
Yeah.
when we have legendary creatures and planeswalkers and all this cool stuff. And oh my gosh, we would have just played Commander. We would have only played Commander had Commander been a thing when we were back in high school.
We played like giant multiplayer games like almost exclusively.
Yeah. No, like Commander would have been literally perfect for us in high school. So I'm so happy that it exists. And I think getting to Commander ASAP, and like I was Brawl guy. I have to accept at this point it didn't take off. It wasn't what the paper player base wanted. I'm glad it exists in Arena. But yeah, if it's good, for a long time I was like, no, Brawl's perfect, and I honestly think Brawl is a better starting place to do it, card availability, deck size, power level, life total wise. But that's just not how it's played out, and I can accept that and say, okay,
Brawl just didn't happen.
Let me, if I may, though, I'd just like to make an argument for Standard also being a cool thing to introduce to people, because cards like Squadron Hawks, I mean, like, there's just fun stuff you can do when you have 4 of something.
Sure. Okay. I mean, I wouldn't even say Standard then. Like, what format should they get into? No. Just hand them a pile of Magic cards.
Agreed.
And when the time comes, it's like, I'm glad there's options. I'm glad we have Modern. I'm glad we have Pioneer. No, there's good methods out there. And like, honestly, if someone's like, I really want to get into this, it's like, great. Play Arena. I would recommend you play Standard and maybe try to do some drafts. You're going to lose for a while, but you won't only lose because there's ranked drafts.
Oh, if you're teaching somebody, lose.
Yeah, yep. Full stop.
Like at least the first game or two.
Let the classic, my old co-owner of the Trolls Den, Ryan, it is proved true and cannot be stated enough when teaching someone a game. Let the Wookiee win. Let the new player win and feel good about it, because winning or having some exciting stuff happen is going to be way more likely that they want to come back. You want them to say, cool, let's play again. And if you stomp them and they didn't feel like that, let them win. Let some people win in the beginning. That's not a bad idea.
All right. So, well, we've been going for a while. Shall we call it?
Yeah, I think that's good. Any final thoughts on anything we talked about today? New cards, teaching new players?
I just had a final thought about new players. New players can be all sorts of people of any age group, and I say that as a person who has gotten my ass kicked a lot by like 14-year-olds and like all sorts of things.
No, yeah, and that's the thing. It's anytime someone's like, "Ooh, that looks interesting," that is a great opportunity, and it's important for the more experienced players to really try to be good ambassadors to the game.
Right.
Try to give them that good experience that hopefully you got when you started out, because the best thing you can do to help a new player learn is to make them want to keep playing the game. If that's by format or by going easy, maybe those first few games, or helping out, any form that takes, make that player want to pick the deck back up.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that is our main show. We're going to keep going a little bit with the post show. If you want to catch that and you're watching this on the regular YouTube releases, all you have to do is give us $1 on Patreon, and you can watch the show live. You can go check out the full unedited pre-show, post-show, commercial break, all of it. You can those videos on demand on the Patreon. That's all available to you. So check that out if you're interested. Otherwise, we appreciate you tuning in however you do that. Thanks so much for watching our show. And we will talk to you in 2 weeks. Have a good one, everybody. Stay safe out there. And make sure to remember who you are.